Hello everybody, welcome back to the garage. Today is decision day. I need to make up my mind about which engine is going to go on the mini bike. My idea was maybe to use this 3 horsepower off of this edger I have. It's a 1-pull start engine, maybe 2. It's a good running engine. Also have this 5 horsepower here that if I put a little bit of gas in down the spark plug hole, it will fire right up. Trouble with it is, it sat in a guy's garage or in a shed for a lot of years, and the fuel system needs cleaned on it. That's why I got to cheat and put a little bit in there. It gets sparked, it wants to fire right up, but that fuel system's going to need to be cleaned first. It is a bigger engine. I have sat it in here. It's a tight fit, but it does fit. And 5 horsepower would be better than 3 horsepower, right? Or there's one last. What I might do is give the engine that's on the bench one last look at. I might throw it together real quick. I just want to get the bench cleared off. I'm going to decide, am I going to use it or not? Is there any hope for it or not? So I may throw that together real quick, and if it's cooperating and things are working out, I might proceed with that. But I'm just not going to spend a lot of time on it when I have these 2 other options. Okay, I want to really make short work of this. I want to get an answer out of this thing and make a decision here really quick. There's no point in going any further with cleaning the carburetor and gas tank, or putting another coil in it, or the points. There's no point in doing any of that until I know that the engine actually has decent, has good compression. And the only thing I need to do really is to finish that up is where to go. Up here is really, I have the new head gasket for it. I'm going to lap this head here real quick, make sure it's flat, and bolt the head on it and torque it, put the spark plug in it. Actually, I'd have a compression tester, so I'll put the flywheel and this thing back on it so that I have a way to turn it, and I check the compression on it. If that's no good, there's no point in going any further with this, and then I'll probably just throw it together or set it on a shelf somewhere as a conversation piece, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just going to do that for now and see where we're at. If it's even worth going any further on it. One common issue with these air-cooled engines is the cylinder head warping and blowing head gaskets, and they leak, and then you start losing compression. This one is a little bit, but I'm going to take care of that. In a perfect world, I'd take this to my buddy's machine shop just down the road a little ways, and I'd bolt this to a machine table, and I'd mill it flat. But this isn't a perfect world, and I'm certainly not perfect. An easy way to do it at home in a garage or shop is instead of milling it, is just to lap it flat, and that is actually really easy to do. Now, you may not have a blast cabinet to bead blast it and make it all looking like new again. It may still have paint on it and carbon. You can wire wheel or scrape to get the carbon out of the combustion chamber and clean it up as best you can. But I have bead blasted it. And what you want to do is make this gasket surface the whole way around flat. Nothing else about it matters. Just where's the gasket? Okay, just the surface that this gasket mounts to. That's all you need to be concerned about. And it's going to be hard to see because mine is so clean from being bead blasted. It might have been better if I'd left it dirty, but you need to have some witness marks. So you can just take a Sharpie. You can actually just color this all. At least put a good solid line all the way around this so that you can see your progress on how flat it's getting. As you lap it, we'll get to that in a second. Okay. The flat spots will clean up, and any low spots you'll still be able to see the Sharpie marks. So that's good enough for what we're doing. Okay. Alright, that shows up good. Couple things we're going to need here. Something we're going to need is some good emery paper. I think a good grit to do this is probably 180 grit. And once it's 99% flat, I might finish it with the next finer grit. But I think 180 is, if you use too fine of a grit, you just be here forever and ever doing this. The other thing you're going to need is a good precision flat surface and the emery cloth on it. Now this table is a little bit beaten up. You have to make sure whether it's a big like a sharpening stone or a big old file, you got to watch out for any, if the table's gotten beat up, you don't want any nicks or high spots in it. And I've just taken this file, and you hit a high spot, you'll know it. And I've already gone over this table. It's in pretty good shape, actually. There was a couple of high spots over here, but you don't want to get crazy and hold it at an angle and be fine. If you hold it real flat, you're just looking for, I'm going to knock off any high spots. It's better to use a stone. So you want a clean, flat surface. You get your emery cloth, and you're going to see here in a minute. I've already probably did this about halfway. I thought, well, I'm going to stop and turn the camera on. But you take this on and you hold it flat. If you end up with any bad areas, you don't want to intentionally lean on that area. It'll eventually all come flat, but you want to keep you don't want to lean on one side or the other, and you always want to keep a nice even surface on the entire thing, even pressure. So we'll go this way, rotate it. Actually, if I had cleaned this up real good, I could have. You could use masking tape or some kind of tape to tape it down. So I just keep rotating it. We'll see where we're at here. Wow, actually. See, actually this one wasn't too bad. It's cleaned up a lot. It might be really hard to see on this camera, but we have some low spots, some dark area over here and here, and a little bit going on over here. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% cleaned up. It should be pretty dang close though. After all, that's what gaskets are for, is to seal uneven surfaces. So some of these get warped really bad, and you want to get it lapped to where you have 90% cleanup or better. And that depends. A lot of times they'll warp. There'll be particularly a low spot in the area where the exhaust valve was. Sometimes it'll get extra heat, so you have to be mindful of that. We're going to do that just a little bit more here. It's looking a little better. We still have some dark up here in the area where the two valves were, but it's looking pretty good down here. The piston is comes up just below this area. The valves are here, but like I say, usually around the exhaust valve more than the intake. But it's not uncommon for this to be the bad spot on them. I'm gonna get that a little bit better. It's partially hitting and getting some contact, but we're getting pretty close there. Actually, we're getting a good bit of contact there. Some of that's just going to look like deep, almost like deep staining, but I can see where we're starting to get a lot of contact there. I'm going to skip ahead because I'm not going to bore you with all that lapping, but you have to be patient and stay at it. And, you can get it. I think that's looking pretty good here. We have nice cleanup the whole way around. Just a wee little, very faint traces of that dark spot, but like I said, that's what gaskets are for. So that's it. We're going to put the head gasket on it. Where's the bolts at? I have the bolts have already run across the wire wheel. They actually come out pretty clean, but I ran them on the wire wheel over on the bench grinder to make sure the threads were clean. I blew all the holes, blew all the threads out. So it's important that stuff's all clean. Let's see which one's which. I think 2 of these or 3 of these are longer than the others. So I gotta get that right. Let's just leave them all up for now. I think the long ones go over. I think it goes like that. I think the long ones go here by the exhaust. Yeah, 2 of them are longer. Now, I'm all about using power tools, and we're just going to do something gentle with this one. I'm still going to speed things up. Now, I'm going to use my cordless drill, but I'm going to turn the clutch way down. It's like no pressure. We're still going to follow the torque sequence. It goes 1, 2, it's always a crisscross type of thing, and even if you don't have access to, like, what is the torque sequence, as long as it's kind of crossed as best you can, like in a star pattern, it'll pull down pretty equally. So then I think it goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then at the beginning, it'll be, see, the head gasket has already compressed a little bit. These will get torqued to 16 foot-pounds, I believe. So for right now, I just want to clamp this to the workbench. Let me flip it over this way. It might be better. Okay, we'll pop a 1/2 inch socket on there. Set this thing to 16 foot-pounds. There's 10. Oops, there's 15. There's 16 foot-pounds. We'll tighten this, lock this bottom up. And the same sequence. We're going to just snug them all a little bit. Draw that gasket down some more. Okay. Need a little bit more. I think I went out of perfect sequence that time. That's all right. We're staggering it around, allowing that head gasket to squeeze. So actually, I think one of these end ones is number 1 and 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we need to go over it one more time, at least. 1, 2, Okay. Now, I'm not going to worry about the points yet. For right now, that points and condenser are actually going to wait. And this is easy to put on and take back off. So I'm going to put this flywheel back on here. And, oops. Oh, that's not good for it. It'd be alright. Oops, we're missing something. We're going to put our high performance red racing washer on there. Spin that on. Now I've cheated a little bit and I found this 7/8 socket that happens to fit this really nicely, and I've adapted from a 1/4 inch drive to 3/8 to 1/2 inch. So we're just going to see what happens here before putting a spark plug or tester in there. Okay, I'm just going to put my finger over the spark plug hole. Well, it has some compression, but is it enough? Alright, this lens could use cleaned. It's got some overspray on it. It's going to be difficult to read. But, you know, I'd like to see at least, 80 to 90 pounds here. Minimum. I think you start getting below 80. Just pretty weak. Pretty weak engine. Let me screw this guy in here. Actually, those are pretty long threads on that adapter. I'll turn it over by hand, make sure that piston doesn't come up and hit it or anything. I don't know how far that protrudes down in there. Oh, almost got my finger caught. Okay, so let's give her 3 or 4 revolutions and see what happens here. Well, it doesn't even have 50 pounds of compression. Wow. No, it won't even come up to 60. So, something's wrong. I think the only last check I'm going to do on this, and I know I'm wasting my time here. Because I know that there's already oil down around them rings. But we're going to give it. Sometimes if the rings are real worn, if you put some oil down in there, it'll help them seal and you'll see a jump in compression. Something bad happened internally. Well, look at that. It actually went up to 80 pounds. Maybe those rings are shot. Well, I guess that was another concern too, was those the cylinder wall did look like it's seen better days. There was a little bit of kind of scoring in there, really mild. I'd hope that wasn't the case, but after having added oil, and it jumped up from about 50 psi to 80, the rings are shot. It needs bored out, new piston and rings. This engine is not going to get used. Yeah, now we've lost some oil. It's down to 70. I'm not going to add more oil. We're done. Yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time testing this any further. I know what its story is. Looks like we're going with the other 3 horsepower, or maybe the 5 horsepower. I decided to go ahead and clean up some bench space, both there and over here at the table, and get this little one that's done out of the way, out of the picture. Get it out of here. There it is. She's going in the archives. I doubt that I'll ever rebuild this engine. It might be a good candidate for a parts, for a donor engine. Maybe I'll need this carburetor, gas, or something off of it someday. So this will be a parts engine. It's not likely to get rebuilt. It could though. Okay, it could get rebuilt someday, maybe. What makes this other 3 horsepower engine such a good candidate is it's such a good runner. The trouble is it's already mounted on a useful item. It's a edger for doing along sidewalks and driveways, possibly other landscaping. But it's like a 1-pull engine, maybe 2 sometimes. But choke is on. The 5 horsepower engine, I've already gone and set it in the frame, and you can see it's kind of a snug fit in there, but it does fit. Kind of nice the gas tanks out here, better exposed and easier to fill. It's not quite, it's almost in perfect position. It might move over just a little bit when the bolt holes are lined up in the bottom. Yeah, I think it's pretty much sitting right on them, pretty close. And the air cleaner, it barely clears. It barely clears the shaft in there, but it does. Not by much. And the other issue about using this engine here too, it has a taller gas tank than the original engine, so that tank actually sits down too low. And it would hit that shaft. So I would have to change that gas tank and carburetor off the other one. And I really don't want to do that. This is an all nice original engine, and it's from a related application. Let's see. Yeah. Caution, rider must be seated in cart before engine is started. So it's off of a go-kart. So it probably wouldn't be mine being put on a mini bike. So I'll show you, this thing's ready to go in the archives for now. See, same kind of carburetor and gas tank, but it's much shallower. So I'd have to take those off and put it on that other engine. So between that swap and taking it off of a useful tool, maybe it just makes better sense to put this 5 horsepower on it. Now it does start. When it showed up the other day, it was mounted on a little base and frame, so it was able to pull on it, and it did try to start a little bit. Only because we only had a little bit of gas down in the spark plug hole. That carburetor's kind of clogged up from sitting so long, but it will run. Well, today was about getting caught up, wrapping up loose ends, making a final decision on the engine. We're going to take a little break here, and I got to clean the fuel system out of this thing, mount it on something solid, and it will run. So, and that something solid is probably going to be the mini bike. So, boy, next video, we can get power to that back tire. Look out. That's it. We're going to stop here for now. Thanks for hanging out with me today in the garage. That's it. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's it. See you next time.